All right, Paige Dimakos here, guys. It's Draft Club, and I have a very special guest. He and I are going to actually be co-hosting a really cool event that we're going to tell you guys about later on here for the upcoming draft. But that is Super Bowl champion, host of the Safety First show. I believe you also do something you're gridiron related with. You're all over the place. You're doing media. You're like basically trying to take my job. All right, you're trying to do all the media stuff too. So, TJ Ward, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here tonight.
Appreciate it, Paige. How you doing? Great to be here, first off. Great.
Yeah,
Great to be here.
I'm excited. I listen for the viewers, they didn't get to see the behind the scenes that I got, which I really appreciated. And just to take you all behind the scenes real quick, because this is the stuff the fans want to see. It's that he may be a Super Bowl champ, but he's got to put in the effort now in this part of his life. And he was putting it in to get this lighting right. Let me just tell you, okay? He was doing all the extra effort to make sure that the lighting was right. So TJ, I was very impressed, man. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a light technician. So, being that there's so many shades of lighting and brightness
Mhm.
and the way you gotta illuminate
Yep.
your room, man, had some things were falling, bulbs, and you guys missed it. I'm glad you missed it, but it was definitely a show. Was a
Yeah.
blooper. Definitely
It was
blooper.
definitely a great blooper, definitely a great behind the scenes moment, but the dedication to getting it right was there. And that's all I can ever hope for. So I want to get into obviously free agency going on in the NFL and complete chaos. There's no reason to start anywhere else than with the Maxx Crosby situation. I
Yeah.
think the part of this that's not being discussed enough is how Max might be feeling throughout this entire process. And that's the part I want you to illuminate as a former player. How would you feel if you were in this situation? Because getting traded, showing up to Baltimore, saying goodbye to your team, saying goodbye to the team that raised you on your podcast, and then, oh no, it's all pulled from under you. How would you handle this situation if you were in it?
Man, it's a lot. I mean, it's got to be a little bit embarrassing, not just because of what happened, but like you said, how you have to deal with it. And you just said bye to everybody, and maybe
Yeah.
said "f you" to a couple guys on your way out, and now you're right back. Now you're right back in the building with your bags in
Yeah.
hand. So, I mean, oh, it's difficult. It's difficult, but because you think you got a new home, a new deal, um, new teammates, and now you have to come back to a place where I don't think you really want to be.
Yeah.
He had his disgruntles on the way
Mhm.
out, talking about Brady's guy and how he was involved in too much of what was going on, and now you got to go have lunch with him daily. So he caught between a rock and a hard place. But Vegas loves him. The Raiders organization loves him. I'm not sure if he'll still be there, but
Yeah.
there are some uncertainties about that knee. So
Yeah.
we'll see what teams, want to bring him in and give him their own physical. But I just
Yeah.
don't. This whole process, it stinks, and it doesn't make
It
any sense
does.
if you ask me.
No. No, I can't help but, and I'm glad you went there because that's where I wanted to go next, which is just how this feels from the outside. You know the buildings well. I know these buildings. I've worked in these buildings. I've talked to 15 different general managers and head coaches over the last 24 hours. Everybody's aggravated because what the Ravens did was go back on their word, right? This is
Yeah.
the entire thing is this is a handshake league. This is a league that during the combine, a lot of discussions happen, a lot of deals are put in place at Steak and Shake at 2 o'clock in the morning that then facilitate 2.5 weeks later when free agency actually opens. But this is a league that's about respect and
Mhm.
integrity and carrying yourself the right way. And the Ravens, TJ, have been known as the upper echelon of how to act, right? And how to carry yourself. But it's a new era there, right? And I think that's the part that's not being discussed enough is this is the first non-Jim John Harbaugh move, right? This
Yeah.
is the first free agency component we're seeing out of the Harbaugh era. And I'm going to say this is a swing and a miss if you're the Ravens, because no matter what happens, I get you got Trey Hendrickson, but you really made everybody in the league question whether to do business with you moving forward. And that is a tough thing to do, TJ.
Hey, you hit it on the head. It was very disingenuous, very, if you ask me, snakish, right? I mean, we
Yep.
all want to make sure our players come in and they're healthy. But you knew he had knee surgery. You knew all this going into the trade. Now, what
Yep.
I think and what I know happened, they look back on what they gave up and, they didn't like what they gave up.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
reneged on the deal. And you
Yep.
can't renege. You cannot renege. You can't do that for your own feelings, for your own regret. You can't
Yeah.
do that. And like you
No.
said, this new coach, mentor, and the guys that he's brought in, I was already questioning that regime. I didn't like the hiring process of that regime. And now they looking even worse. It looks
Yeah.
even worse. So do players trust you? Do other GMs trust you? Do other coaches trust you? Ownership trust you? Man, it's going to be a trickle effect, and it doesn't look good on the Ravens. It doesn't
No.
look good on the Ravens at all.
No, it doesn't look good on them at all. It's a poor reflection on the football character of an organization that has only been known for A-plus football character over
Mhm.
the time of the John Harbaugh era. There was never a time where anybody questioned the integrity of that organization under John Harbaugh, how they acted, how they had treated players during negotiations, how they treated free agency, how they treat the draft process. They have an incredible reputation, and it's actually quite the lesson of like how quickly 20 years of built up popularity and reputation can be ruined with one decision. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. One decision literally ruining 20 years of doing things the right way, TJ.
and especially the player who you did it to. Like Maxx Crosby, he gives his all out on the field. He gives his heart
Yep.
to his teammate. He gives his heart to the city that he's played in. And like I said before, you knew he had knee surgery. It's a
Yeah.
meniscus. It's not an ACL. It's not knee reconstruction. It's a meniscus. I've had 2 meniscus surgeries in college, and when I got healthy from those, I never had an issue with those again. Now they
Yeah.
can linger, but it's not the end of your career. So, like I said, they regretted what they gave up. They reneged, and then they went and got the player who was secondary on their list was
Yep.
Hendrickson, and I always believe fully in life, in football, and whatever you do, what goes around comes around, and karma is a B word. And they got to face her at some point. The Ravens will
Yeah.
have to face some karma coming up here soon.
And it feels like they might get that karma sooner rather than later. And that's where I want to head now is I think that everybody assumes that Trey Hendrickson, and with all due respect to Hendrickson, he's a hell of a ball player. But there is a difference between who Maxx Crosby is and who Trey Hendrickson is as far as their impact on the football field. And that's the part I think to me matters the most. When you're talking about, you obviously played on the defensive side of the football. What is the drop off here that we're talking about? Because I like Hendrickson, but to me, you can't replace the motor of a guy like a Maxx Crosby who literally doesn't stop when you watch the tape. And I'm not saying Hendrickson is not the same caliber, but to me, there's like a 3-4 top pass rush echelon and then everybody else. And Maxx Crosby's in that top list. I don't put Trey Hendrickson in that same list, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Hendrickson has had 2 back-to-back years of 17 and a half sacks, which is
Yeah,
awesome. But if you want a guy
100%.
that's going to play every down, get to the quarterback, get sacks, get quarterback hurries and pressures, stop the run at the same time, you want Maxx Crosby. He's everything you want at that position. Now, Trey Hendrickson, I mentioned on my show, Safety First, is that he's benefited for playing for the Bengals and
Yeah.
a pass heavy offense that puts up a lot of points. So his opposing teams are often in positions where they have to pass the ball. Where vice
Yep.
versa, Maxx Crosby is usually playing from behind in the teams that are trying to conserve the lead and run the ball all day. So he has
Yep.
to make his impacts with tackle for losses, which I think he had close to 30 or something, 30 plus last season. And that's
Yeah.
hard to do, man. That's hard to do to have that many quarterback pressures. The sacks are a reflection of how many times teams have to drop back and pass. And with the Raiders, we all know that's not much.
No, it's not. They hope that it will change. Obviously, now moving forward, let's talk about this from the Ravens' perspective. I really liked what I thought they were going to look like with Maxx. Now, seeing this roster, knowing the moves that they made, the trades, I think losing Linderbaum's going to be a bigger deal for them than they maybe really
Absolutely.
want to account for. Do you look at this Ravens team as a top contender in the AFC as they sit right now?
As they sit right now, no. I
Yep.
mean, the AFC is stacked. Like, who are they really
Yeah.
contending with right now? They don't have their center. They don't have a right guard.
Yep.
You got Hendrickson, but he doesn't play the run very well. And you were terrible
Nope.
against the run, even worse against the pass last year. Now, you do
Yep.
have some players in the secondary, but it is. I don't see them contending against the Patriots right now. I don't see them contending against the Broncos, not the Chiefs. The Chiefs have
Nope.
done great in the offseason right now.
Yep.
Man, look, the Chargers, the Steelers, the Browns, they done fortified that offensive line.
Yep.
So when you're talking
Yep.
about contending in the AFC, like who can you point to and say that they're actually better than in the top five teams? Like I really the Bills, no.
Nope.
I mean, like, no, they're not
I
contenders right now.
No, I agree with you. And I'm glad you said it because I feel like the consensus is that this Ravens team, who was a massive disappointment with and without Lamar last year, it wasn't just Lamar, it was without Lamar, it was the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, you make the changes with this coaching staff. But in the same way, I caution Steeler fans to just assume that things are going to stay the status quo that they've had and benefited from over the last 20 years with Tomlin. I ventured the same thing with Ravens fans. You can't just replace superstar head coaches like these guys that they've had. I'm not saying it might work out, but it also might not work out. And I feel like it's not being factored in at all on the flip side. There's just an assumption that the Ravens are going to be there at the end, TJ. And I just don't see that. I can't assume
I
that.
don't see it either. I don't see it. You got a young coach, you got an offensive coordinator that played baseball 5 years ago. Where the opposite, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers who brought in a championship coach in Mike McCarthy. That's the
Yep.
difference. You have a
Yep.
leader of men in
Thank
Mike
you.
McCarthy. He's done it. He's led Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've known to play this game, to a Super
Yep.
Bowl MVP and a Super Bowl championship. He hasn't won a Super Bowl MVP or a Super Bowl championship since leaving Mike McCarthy. So I think if he comes back to Pittsburgh, that's going to be a recipe for disaster for the rest of the AFC North and especially the Ravens because the Ravens didn't make the playoffs last year, but guess what? The Pittsburgh Steelers did.
I'm glad you went there because to me, the Steelers I think Mike McCarthy's probably one of the more criticized coaches that's only ever won, literally in every place that he's ever been, including Dallas, who he won 13 games with and had a really damn good football team
Yep.
with the Cowboys, which
And
everybody
that
likes
Dak
to.
Prescott at his best
Thank
efficiency
you.
of his entire
Thank you.
career.
Yep. I'm like,
So
he got Dak paid, he got CD paid, he got all these guys paid. Nobody likes to talk about because it's fun to poke fun at the old white guy, right? I mean, it's just kind of how it's gone with Mike. He has become the butt of a lot of these jokes, and I really don't think he's gotten the respect that he deserves. I'm glad he's back in a place like Pittsburgh where just in general, the market demands a certain level of respect. So let's go to that team. Let's go to that specific free agency. If you're running the Steelers right now, are you doing everything possible to bring Aaron Rodgers back, or are you looking elsewhere to a Kyler Murray or a Kirk Cousins or to the draft as far as their quarterback of the future?
Man, I'm definitely trying to bring Aaron Rodgers back. I mean, he had a pretty good season last year. As much as I talked about him being old, he did have a pretty good season. But Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers is a match made for reuniting. Like they have to
Yep,
reunite for this season and just to see what we get. Now, I will work on some other areas. I believe they lost Gainwell in free agency.
yep, they
So
did.
he had a tremendous season for them last year. So I would look at getting the running back, and I would also look at fortifying that defense, probably getting a corner and a safety, definitely.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good draft for they've got quite a few good safeties in this
yes,
draft. I think
it's a
they
great
can.
defensive draft.
Yeah,
They
great
had a few
defensive.
high players, but Mike McCarthy, when we were going back and forth about what coaches should get an opportunity to come back and what teams. I kept bringing Mike McCarthy up, and everybody's like, no, 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 no. I'm like, dude, Mike McCarthy is going to get one of these jobs, and he got, one of the better jobs. And I think he's from Pittsburgh, so he was very
He
emotional
is.
a few months ago about getting that hiring. And when you have somebody that emotional, that means he's passionate about being there, and that means that you're going to get his all, his experience, his knowledge, and his work. And he's a general, man. He's a general. Guys
Yeah.
follow and they leave behind him. And we don't know that about those guys in Baltimore yet. We don't.
No.
I
No,
mean,
and that's probably the biggest factor that I like talking about is, when you get a coaching staff, all the attention's always on the head coach, but it's really about the whole staff that an entire team brings together. Who do they know? Who do they have relationships with? Who are they able to bring along? And when you hire young guys, you hire guys who don't have trees yet. They haven't had enough time coaching to be able to build out these rosters of coaches that they know that they could trust to come in and be positional coaches. And obviously you could speak to this, but positional coaches run the meetings for every position within the NFL, and they're very important and very crucial to the success that you have. It's not just about your head coach. You got to have good guys calling plays on both sides. You have to have a good general. You've got to have good offensive line coaching. And a lot of that, when you hire a new staff, I go, where's that guy from? What's his loyalty to? What system does he come from? Is he in alignment with what the defense that's going to be called? A lot of that is up in the air with the Ravens staff. I don't know that that's going to be a good staff yet, TJ. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they hired a DC with some experience.
Yep.
I forgot his
The one
name.
I'm questioning, because it's the biggest one that I feel like they always had trouble with, is the offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, who comes from the Chicago Bears. He wasn't calling plays.
No.
Ben Johnson's calling the plays. So that's the part that when you hire a guy that worked with Sean McVay or a guy that worked with Kyle Shanahan, it's going to be the same with Ben Johnson. Those guys all call their plays. So these offensive guys who work underneath them, they may not have play calling experience. And there's a big difference between sitting in a meeting room with a guy, listening to his ideas and his game script, and coming up with your own. And that's my question about Lamar Jackson.
I agree completely. Man, Declan Doyle, he was a tight ends coach with the Broncos, and he gets to hit an OC job under Ben Johnson, which, like you say, didn't call plays. He's looking at how the meal is cooked, but he has no input. He doesn't know. Ben Johnson's in there. He's not measuring. He's just seasoning, right? It's your turn to cook. What are you going to do? You don't have the measurements. How are you going to cook this meal? And that's going to be interesting to see. But, man, these offensive gurus, and they've coached under this tree and that tree, and they get in the job. It just kills me. Like, I don't understand it. And you could call me a hater all you want. I don't care. It's stupid.
It's not hating. I'm glad to hear it comes around. And I get it too, because people are like, oh, you're from Chicago, you like defense. I'm like, no, I like winning football. And you can't win without a good defense. It's not happened. It's never going to happen. You need to be able to run the football. All those high-powered offense in September, I'm always like, yeah, call me in November. Let me know what this offense looks like when the weather changes and you got to run the football outside. And there's never an answer for that. So to me, I shook hands with Sean McVay gets you a job these days. And I'm like, well, good luck with that.
Tell me about it. Hey, you are a girl after my own heart. I tell you, this makes complete sense. You shake hands with McVay or Shanahan, it's like the magic wand to offensive
so you're touched by God, basically.
By
proxy.
Pieces, like, you come in there and you get a Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. You're not starting with whoever. You're handed a fortified team.
Yep.
So you bet not fail. But we'll see what happens, man. I don't want to jump on Doyle too much, but
no. I will tell you, I did fade the Ravens total, though. I did fade it. It went to 13 after they were getting Maxx Crosby, 13 games, and I faded it. I was like, I'm taking the under. They're not winning 13 games.
I'll take that. I'll take the under for sure. You got Pittsburgh twice. You got Cleveland, who's getting better twice. You got Joe Burrow coming back in Cincinnati, and they're going to put some pieces on that defense that they've already done. It may be ugly for the Ravens. It may be
I
ugly. It
just
may be
saying.
really ugly.
I'm not gonna assume that they're just gonna have a bounce back year after they got rid of a Hall of Fame head coach. It's not
No,
my assumption. I'm
no.
not gonna do all that. I'm not gonna do all that. But I'll leave you with this. My last question for you before I get you out of here is your favorite move thus far from free agency. What is your favorite move that's happened?
Oh man, my favorite move. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Browns, man. Just redoing that offensive line because
Yeah.
they had probably one of the worst offensive lines in football. And they what did they do? They brought. I got it in my notes right here.
I was gonna say, bring your notes out. I like a handy dandy notebook.
It may
That's
be in
always
my
a good.
other notebook, but anyway, they got some guys on that offensive line. Guy from Green Bay,
Yep.
another guard from the Chargers. I'm terrible with names, but
I
I
think
know
Jenkins they
that.
brought in from the
Yeah,
Packers.
two
I think that's
Jenkins. They
yep.
re-signed their Jenkins. They got
Yep.
Jenkins from the Packers, who is
Yep.
like number one in pass rush
Yes.
protection, and they brought in a left tackle from the
Yeah.
Texans, and he is one hell of a right tackle. My bad. I'm sorry, right tackle. So just fortifying that offensive line, starting with, is going to do them so much justice. We know the defense is top 5 in the league.
Yeah.
Myles
100%.
Garrett coming off the edge, defensive rookie of the year, middle linebacker. You got Del Pitt back there. You got Ward at corner. They're fortified on defense. Quinton Judkins coming back at running back for the Browns. Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, who's going to be their quarterback, we will see. They probably go get a receiver in this draft. They're going to be tough, man. They're going to be tough. And I love their head coach. I mean, he's going to put numbers up on that offense. And I know he's going to go get a Mike Evans type receiver.
Yes.
Somebody that is dependable, can stretch the field. And I know they're losing their tight end too, so that's probably somebody they get on the draft board as well. But the Browns looking to make some noise for sure. I got to give my shout out to Cleveland, man. I know I'm a Bronco, won the Super Bowl with the Bronco, but my first love is the Browns, man. They brought me in this league, gave me the first opportunity, so always rooting for them.
Listen, they need all the help and love that they can get because they deserve it. It's a fan base that's starving for some good, but they got a good young nucleus. They knocked that draft out of the park last year with Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger and Quinshon Jenkins, and they really got a young core. And I'm glad you brought up just fortifying that offensive line, much like Chicago did the year before, to make sure that they could really evaluate Caleb Williams as a quarterback. It's the same thing they needed to do. Give Shedeur Sanders a proper amount of tools in front of him to see what you got. Whether or not Deshaun Watson, you can't bank on what that's going to look like. I've seen Deshaun be the best player in this league, and I've seen him be the worst player in this league. I mean, literally, the ceiling and the floor could not be further apart from each other. It's insane, but you never know. If he could come back and be 50% of what he was at his high point, it would be crazy for the Cleveland Browns. So, TJ, how can everybody follow you? How can everybody follow your show? I want you to end this with a shout out to all the different ways that people can see what you're doing and the content you're producing.
Yeah, follow the show at Safety First Show on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok. That's the show. And then the personal is at Boss Ward 43. That's my personal, so you can see a mix of all my content. Others people's shows that I done collab with. So yeah, but most importantly, at Safety First Show, check it out.
Yep.
New episode tonight. Actually, we just dropped.
I love that. A new episode tonight, a new episode of the Safety First Show. Shout out to TJ Ward. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Draft Club. Guys, we will be back very soon.